Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Remington RPW Peanut. So power through those close-ups and let's get nuts.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Let me preface this video by saying that there is not a lot of information about this specific knife, as the model is currently only available on the secondary market. But I will try to share the information that I do have about it, as well as some of the history around Remington. My dad has been watching my YouTube videos, thank you Dad, and he had this small pocket knife. Now me, being a tiny person and really loving tiny objects, I thought this little knife was super cute and agreed to do a video on the knife for him. This knife, as you can see, was manufactured by Remington, who are more well known for their firearms, which they first began producing in 1816. The history of Remington's venture into the knife industry dates back to shortly after the end of World War I. Realizing that they had a great opportunity, the Remington Union Metallic Cartridge Company decided to begin manufacturing knives in about 1920, when they opened up a factory in Connecticut. Soon, they were producing between 6,000 and 10,000 knives per day and had many different models to choose from. In the 1930s, DuPont began investing in Remington, and by 1933, they had actually purchased the controlling interest in the company. And yes, it's the same DuPont that sponsors NASCAR, if you're into NASCAR. I personally prefer Formula One myself. Things were going well for Remington knives until about 1940. With World War II raging in Europe, Remington DuPont sold its knife manufacturing business to the Powell Cutlery Company and focused all their attention on making firearms and ammunitions for the war effort. Powell Cutlery moved the knife production from Connecticut to Massachusetts in 1941 and continued to produce knives and bayonets until the 1950s. After 30 years of not producing knives, Remington reissued their famed bullet knife in 1982. And they have been producing knives since then. Anyway, that is enough history about the company. I will leave the links in the description below if you do want to learn some more. So let me tell you what I know about this knife. Now, I do have the nice little paperwork that comes with it, but I can tell it's pretty dated due to the double spaces after the periods and the excessive hyphens throughout the design. This is why people don't like to go out in public with me. Bad design is everywhere, but it can be avoided. Invest in a good designer. Okay, I'm gonna get off my tiny graphic designer soapbox now. So, this knife style is called a slip joint. And for those who may never handled something like this, it technically doesn't lock. When you open it, it has a half stop, where the knife will slip into a stop, and then when pulled all the way, will slip into the final stop. However, if you're aggressive with slip joints, you will more than likely injure yourself because it could snap closed on your hand. So please be aware and be super careful, which, you should be anyways when you're handling knives. Pro tip. Now this is a mystery. You could say it piqued my curiosity. And even though I have the paperwork, as you can see, there's no information really about the knife outside of the model name. Definitely a missed opportunity. Because the stats aren't listed anywhere, I'm not able to 100% say what type of wood was used for the handle material, but I believe it's one called Cocobolo. Cocobolo wood is a strong and dense hardwood, so you can also find it being used in everything from musical instruments to even scientific instruments. The bolsters on either side are made of nickel silver, and there are brass liners on the inside of either side of the blade. The one thing I did notice, however, is the blade is actually not centered in the handle. It sits at an angle. Sadly, I do not think you can really fix this because the blade and the handle are pinned together. There's no screws, so you can't take it apart and adjust it. But this doesn't mean it still won't work as a knife. It's just an unfortunate thing that I've noticed. So do not give up though, it's still good. The blade shape is a new one for me. It's called a clip point. This features a concave curve that is clipped out of the spine of the knife near the tip, which allows for piercing as well as fine detailing work. This blade shape was especially popular in the 1800s, in part due to the popularity of the Bowie knife, which had the same blade shape. The blade length on the Peanut is super tiny, at 2¼ inches, and the overall length of the knife is 5 inches when it's opened. The blade steel on this one is 440 stainless steel, which is a strong, high-carbon material that has moderate corrosion resistance. The blade grind is flat, and the blade also features something that I'm not actually a fan of at all. Billboarding. I find large logos on a blade to be a bit ridiculous and unnecessary, especially when the brand name is already etched into a nice, tiny piece, inconspicuous area over here. Now, since this knife is super tiny, you could realistically carry it anywhere. Pockets. Even the front ones. But since this blade is so small, I probably wouldn't have it be a part of my EDC personally. Now, if you think this knife is nifty and you like collecting knives that are more of a vintage style, you can find a few on eBay. Personally, I like to spend time at antique stores, so you may get lucky and find one there too. I can't say how much these should retail for, as this model isn't currently being made, but I did see a few used models for about $60 online. So I do love the size. I really wish more companies would go a little smaller. Maybe not this small, but smaller size knives would be good. I also like the Cocobolo wood. It's a beautiful wood, but also fairly expensive. Additionally, it is starting to become harder to come by because of how much it's been sought after for manufacturing. The other thing I don't like, as I've stated before, is logos and text on the whole blade. Excessive, and seems overkill, and as a designer I don't think it's aesthetically pleasing. The only other thing I'm not a fan of is the slip joint itself. I like security, I like locking knives, but I understand that not every country allows civilians to own locking knives. So that's it. That's all I got. As always, I'm trying to end with something inspirational, something nice because everything is sort of upside down. So my cheat code today is to try something weird. I was against dill pickles on pizza, and now I have been converted. It is so weird, but so good. If you want a quick recipe for homemade pizza, send me a message. I do love sharing recipes. And also, if you could please subscribe or share my channel or my videos, I would really appreciate it. So thank you everyone for taking the time and making it to the end. My self-esteem thanks you. Now me, being a tiny person and really loving tiny objects, I thought that this little knife was super cute and agreed to do a video knife. This blade shape was Bowie. Yeah, David Bowie. This blade shape was especially popular in the 1800s, in part due to the popularity of the Bowie knife, which had the same blade shape. Did I say Bowie? Oh, I said the David Bowie knife.
Yeah, Jim Bowie.
Sorry, maybe